We're the voices of experiencers, and we are the experiences with extraterrestrials.
He doesn't feel uncomfortable. He's not scared or nervous or anything. He said it felt natural to him. So that kind of tells me maybe he's done this before.
It's time for disclosure. It's time for truth, because truth brings powerful transformations.
So, I mean, I know we can't, it'll come out in the regression, but I'm assuming we're going to move forward and go someplace else. I get the feeling he's getting some healing.
We're the voices of change and profound evolution.
Just experiences. There's a lot of this updating going on. Right? You guys have heard this before from other clients. So I really think that they are upgrading us as I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of us, to prepare us for something.
We're the bridge between two different worlds.
Like, just looking over, and Deb, you may be able to relate to this as well. I'm sure you can. But when I started with this thing, when all this was happening, and it was Dr. Jacobs, and it was Bud, and it was John Mack, and et cetera. But these, even though it was so long ago, the stories are basically the same. We may use different terminology, upgrade, download, those kinds of things. And some people still say, hybridization program. But it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. And even with the people we've been interviewing, we start out with the show, and you're giving us kind of bits and pieces. And then as it gets more, we're building up. And it always comes I would say 80-90% of the time, it always comes out to you have something to do, because he's like the guest of honor. He's coming in, he opens the doors, he's running late. I had a vision of like at a party somewhere, and you're late, but we've been expecting you, and this is this is what you need to do.
Profound integration is coming.
You're telling me that I need this upgrade to help me feel my energy, feel more aware, understand my surroundings, to feel more, to be more. I feel like it's time to move forward. I feel like I'm almost like an experiment. They've been working on me for a while.
What do you mean when they say they've been working on you for a while?
They say that they have taken me a few times, but this time is different. This time is supposed to help change me and transform me into something much more.
What is it going to transform you into?
Who I came here to be.
And who did you come here to be?
Someone to help, heal, save, protect people.
And how are you going to do that?
To opening my aura, my presence alone. Like they said, I need this upgrade to allow this to happen.
Just who are extraterrestrials? Let's find out with the voices of Contact.
We are the voices of experiencers because we are the experiencers. It's time for disclosure, and it's time for truth, because truth brings powerful transformation. We are the voices of change. We are about evolution on an expansive level, living life without fear and becoming the bridge between two different realities. Profound evolution is here. Profound integration is here. This is the Voices of Contact. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary. I'm a channeler and psychic medium. I'm also a hypnosis regressionist for ET experiencers, and I work with MUFON doing regression work. I also work with PTSD experiencers, paranormal experiencers, and victims of crime to assist them in recall. I'm really looking forward to another amazing show tonight with our panel. I just want to say to you guys that the work that you're doing here with me is so impactful, like literally it's life-changing. And I thank you for being a part of it and being here with me. It means more than you realize to me as well as the listeners. So allow me to introduce some of my most favorite people. First, we have Deb and RJ DeRoos. They're authors, paranormal UFO researchers, and they're experiencers themselves. And they also are the founders of the Michigan UFO Contact that happens every year in Houghton Lake, Michigan at the end of September. They're owners and managers of Mystical Awakenings Radio, Mystical Awakening Podcast on the YouTube channel, and at the Mystical Awakenings Metaphysical Store in Houghton Lake, Michigan. Next, we have the fabulous and well-loved Michael Carter. He is a lifetime UFO contactee, author of Alien Scriptures, Extraterrestrials, and the Holy Bible. He's also a regular consultant on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens series and the Travel Channel's UFO Lost Evidence series, as well as being featured in several UFO documentaries. Last but definitely not least, we have our amazing new panelist, Deborah Jordan Cobble. She was the central figure in Bud Hopkins' international bestseller, Intruders, The Incredible Visitations at Copley Woods, which was actually made into a CBS miniseries in 1992. She's co-author of the book Abducted, The Story of the Intruders Continues, and author of Extraordinary Contact, Life Beyond Intruders. She's a former Indiana MUFON investigator and co-founder of her own paranormal group, Paranormal Underground, and host of the Midwest Paratalk podcast. With the amazing panel that we have tonight, I know that anything is possible. And we are going to get down deep into discovery and answers to what's actually really happening out there. This show is all about transmutating the light from the dark and replacing fear with knowledge. Through my regression work, I have come across amazing cases with some amazing clients. It is my passion to work with them and to help them have a better understanding of the contact they've had. Whether they were taken, have had contact in the physical realm, or through a dream state. I'm grateful that my clients have agreed to allow me to use their regressions on the voices of contact. Tonight, this is the place to be because the panel breaks down the experiences, providing powerful feedback. I love it because all the listeners get to learn and connect, and the person that I regressed walks away even more immersed in the experience with a new perspective on their contact. Literally, it's a win-win, right? This is the Voices of Contact.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Mary.
How are you guys?
Good.
Good to see all your faces again.
Yeah,
Yours too.
I hate waiting that week.
I know. So
Is everybody
long.
ready for another fabulous show?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been impatiently waiting for this one.
Waiting on pens and needles.
Yes.
So a recap from last week's, if we remember, it was more of a past life regression. And she did regress as an ET. And she's some kind of species that has hoofs. And they defeated their enemy that were bug-like. And then in the very last clip, a craft comes down. And they're a species that are hairy. Now, I personally think they're Bigfoot. That's my personal opinion, just because, you know, I think of RJ when I think about that. But through these next clips, it kind of talks about more what they look like and what things that they're carrying with them and what they're doing there. Okay, so we'll start off this first clip.
Do they appear to be male or female?
The ones I see are look like men.
Are they
Male.
carrying anything with them?
They have some sticks. Some
Describe the sticks for me.
are pointy, and these they don't look anything like us.
How does that make you feel?
Frightened. Don't know what they're gonna do.
What are they there for?
Don't know.
Can you go up and ask?
They don't look very friendly. I don't think I'm gonna.
Okay, so let's move forward just a tiny bit. And what happens next?
They keep coming towards the people.
What do they
Big
do after
people.
that?
They caught one of them.
They caught one of your kind?
Uh-huh.
What do they do with them now?
They're taking them in the ship.
What happens next?
See?
Mm.
I've said for a long time, Bigfoot are aliens or ETs.
Well, what kind of stick were they carrying? Well, I'm sorry, I didn't get the
Pointy one, I
a
heard.
pointy one. So maybe like a staff or something.
That's what it seems like to me, like a spear, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It
what I
just
was thinking.
Reminds
Spear.
me of like that primitiveness.
Yeah, but they can't
Yeah.
be too primitive if they have a UFO
Right.
ship that they're flying. I
Yeah.
mean, that's some technology there.
And they're coming down and they're taking the species.
They're
So-
taking the ones like them with the hooves, not the
Yeah.
biting mantis or
Correct.
insects. Okay.
Yep, they defeated all those.
Okay.
So it's not so indifferent or undifferent than what some people have experienced here on Earth.
No, yeah.
Right. Right. Did we ever establish last week what planet that might have been?
When I asked her what planet, she said that she wasn't sure, but it's not from the solar system.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't anything that we would be able to connect with.
Right. Somewhere far out.
Yeah.
Far away, yep.
Okay.
So another like experiment planet.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it was Michael that said that they could have been an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
it's probably exactly what we're looking at here. Is some weird experiment.
Well, yeah, you can't imagine that, Earth's the only place that kind of stuff happens.
Right. Yeah, I think it goes on all the time, and I personally think we'll be doing it too. I mean, as we get off, and we'll be going to these planets that are not developed, and probably doing some experiments and with DNA there and everything else. So I think it's just part of the what happens out there.
We
Well,
might already be doing it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you never know.
Right.
Yeah. That makes you wonder how many planets are exactly out there. We have no way of knowing.
There's billions, I guess. Billions
Yeah.
of Earth-like planets. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't more than 60 years ago, before we had these telescopes, people still thought we're the only gig in town,
Some people still do.
I know.
I was going to say the same thing. Though. Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah.
But
Well,
now
they
we
used to also think the planet was flat too.
Some people still do.
yeah, some people still do, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
So
true.
So
Yeah.
and I think when people thought that was something they learned. I don't think way back people thought that. People knew. They were knowledgeable. They knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
They had technology that we don't have today, obviously.
Yeah.
So
I'm just wondering, does she say, now she's saying they take them, do they take them, bring them back?
Well, that's what it gets into the next clip. And to me, it sounds like they don't bring them back.
don't tell me they're food.
Well, they're food anyway.
You remember that Twilight Zone episode?
Oh yeah.
The cookbook,
No.
Yeah. To serve man.
Yeah, to serve man. Serve them on dinner platters.
Well, it doesn't sound like they're even taking the time to cook. Well, they have fire.
Right. With bones and fat.
Yeah, with bones and fat.
The cholesterol wasn't really very good. They had a lot of greasy food.
I have to say, this is definitely the weirdest one we've ever done.
Well, you know, we are getting ready to go into Mercury retrograde and everything, so might as well just make it weird, right?
Start out right.
Yeah, I think we're in it.
Yeah. we definitely are. I was feeling it last week before it even started. So with this next clip, she describes that the door closes after it takes the species on, and then it opens back up. More come out, and they take another one of them.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Door closes.
What's the ship doing now?
Sitting there.
How long does it sit there?
Door opens up again.
What's happening now that the door opened?
More of them are coming out.
What do they do?
And they're taking one of the babies.
Why are they taking the baby? What are they doing with the baby?
Taking it on the ship.
How does this make you feel?
Worthless.
Why do you feel worthless?
I didn't try to help it.
Did you know the baby?
No.
But you feel like you should help?
Yeah.
And what happens next?
They close the door.
What happens after they close the door?
It just sits there again. Hope they don't come back.
What are they doing now?
It's starting to make a funny noise.
Wow, that was wild.
So I wonder if the baby was part of the hybrid program, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The baby was one of her kind,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But I wonder if it was had a little kind of a DNA experimentation going on with it. Who knows? I'm just curious, and I was wondering.
Uh-oh.
Mary went away.
Mary went away. She'll be back. Yeah, this is all so interesting.
There's Mary.
It's also interesting too because it just the complex emotions that she feels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, as a sentient being, I mean, even though it was the one word answers and all that, but you know, this level of fear and anxiety and compassion, you know, these are complex beings.
Right.
Like, oh no, they're taking the baby, you know. They're very upset about it. She's very upset about it,
Yeah. So that, I mean, literally that could mean that it is a hybrid of her species and this whoever is taking them.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not a hybrid, it's their baby. It's a mother's child.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They may not be hybrid, but they, you know, they've taken a mother's child. And
Yeah.
that level of fear and emotion and yeah, it's shows a complex emotional life. I mean,
right.
despite the hooves and what have you.
They have feelings and they have thoughts and emotions and compassion.
And I was curious because if they're a species that doesn't really socialize, how do they have babies?
I know. I was thinking that. How do they get? How are they getting babies if they eat each other? If they're around each other, maybe
those beings are you know, splicing and doing what they have to do to create it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're an experiment, they might not have to be together to use.
Well, if you think about the bear, for instance, you know, or a lot of them, the mammal species, the deer, they meet once a year and mate, you know, and the male bear would eat the baby bears if the mother didn't protect them, you know, that kind of thing. So maybe that's kind of where they're at as far as the socialization goes. You know, well, we know we have to mate to keep our species alive.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if you let your children wander too far, I'm gonna eat them.
Well, even praying mantises, they multiply, although I don't see as many as I used to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Even though that female thing where, I guess if he
Yeah.
doesn't run away fast enough, he loses his head.
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's the same way.
Yeah. And they may not have to mate. See, that's the thing we're jumping to a conclusion to.
Yeah.
They may not have to mate.
Well, I do ask her.
If they're being experimented with.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
whether you mate or not, if you get it, this is my child, whether, there's still that bond there.
Yeah.
And then if I come back and just take them.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I
it's
do ask
all
her
speculation.
where the babies come from, and she said they just come.
Yeah. So she doesn't even know.
So how would you? Yeah, it'd be different to have a bond, and I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around all this. Humans need human touch. Humans need to interact physically.
That's scientifically proven with infants. They have to have that physical connection or they
Right.
don't thrive. They fail to thrive.
But these
Exactly.
these people aren't human.
Right.
That's true.
So if it's trying to you're trying to figure out another species when they're not human.
Right.
Right.
I mean, they can have complex thought and compassion and still not be human.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get visited by a being and you feel love or whatever, they're not human, but they still have complex thought. I mean, they're sentient. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, but we're still saying you may not be able to get there from here because
Right.
you're assuming that they're like you, and
Yeah.
in some ways they are, and in some ways they aren't.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, they may have a whole different thought process about that. So, and they've also, if it's genetically made, they don't have that connection, strong connection like the humans do, but they have a connection.
Right. And I would assume that up until the mother or this being is emotional because the baby's being taken. So that shows me some sort of a connection.
Exactly. There's a bond, but they don't have to have it like we have it.
Right.
We don't want to be so human centric with people who aren't human.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we even see it here on Earth anyways. We even see it with our animal species.
No question. But again, we're dealing with some people who may not be human.
Right.
So all that kind of goes to the side
Right.
because they're not human.
Right.
And so they may have a different way they may relate just as much as we do, but our science is saying one thing, but maybe their science says another. The people who are creating them and taking them.
Yeah, I mean, they're like you said, they're definitely not human, so they have a different approach, probably.
Yeah,
More
and just a reminder, guys, it's okay not to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay for us to say, well, we don't know. This is,
Right.
it's
That's
all
true.
good.
Yeah.
We don't have to know that, we just kind of getting the data from what Mary's given us, but it's okay not to know. But we do know they're not human.
We're trying to
And
wrap our
so
minds
how we would react or whatever may be different for them.
I thought maybe it was kind of a message, a part of their evolution was, okay, the greater part of that species, just they don't socialize and they don't care about each other. But maybe that was a part of the evolution and the experiment was to get them to move towards that.
That's
more.
a good point. That's a good point.
She was showing that she's more involved than the other ones.
Yeah.
Because she actually cared.
Yeah, maybe that's
Makes sense.
maybe that's the sign of a progress that their experiments doing because they're showing some kind of a connection and compassion or something.
All right, so this next clip, it's a little bit shorter, but she talks about why she thinks that this other species is there taking them.
Why do you think they were there?
Find out about us.
Is that why they took the
I think that's
two
why
species?
I that's why they took him and the baby. I call him him. I don't know why, but it.
Okay, well, let's drift away from that scene.
Okay. And we still don't know anything about the species other than they're hairy and they carry big sticks.
Yes. Yep.
And they have a UFO, or I mean, like a ship. So that's some advanced technology.
And isn't that the typical answer when any kind of regression that we've done when we ask why ET's making contact? Because they want to know more about us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always seems like that's the typical answer.
Well, I always feel like all life is attracted to itself. You know, it's this curiosity that's in us as a part of us, that we feel life is attracted to life. You know, we go out and seek. That's just like what we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it could also be that that's the answer they give us. Because if they had a hand in our creation, they know about us. They already know about us to some extent. And I'm not saying that's devious. I'm just saying that, you know, I don't have time to get into it. You know, it's like when I read the book of Acts and, you know, in Acts 15 or 17, and they think that, oh, no, it's in the Old Testament. Anyway, this angel, and they just say, you know, they don't have time to tell you, no, we're not God. We just tell you, this is what we need you to do.
Yeah.
And we don't have time to go into the ins and outs. And so I'm not saying that that's it there, but they may not have time to go into what all this is, but we come to know, we you know, and it shuts them up. We come to know more about you.
Well, then if they're a lower life form, like a lower evolutionary and not intellectually very well developed, what would be the point to try to explain something to them that they're not capable of understanding at this point? So they give them a simple answer, you know?
Yeah, but even to us.
Yeah, same thing for us too.
In 21st century, you don't even have a clue. We're here to find out more about you. Well, we're here to, and I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying we can't always just take stuff at face value, because it's hard to believe you can get here in a ship but know nothing about us. That's really hard to fathom.
No, you know about us.
You knew we were here
you would know
from
at
all the
least
way
something
across the
about
galaxy, so you know.
Yeah, you know about us.
And if I had a hand in creating you, then I know a little bit about you, but that's not important right now. What's important is I just need to get this child now.
Right. Right. Well, you know, if you see pictures of the Anunnaki, I mean, they had long curly hair, long curly beards, and they were big, and maybe their bodies were hairy. You know, I mean, it could have been, you know, we automatically think when it's hairy that it could be like a Chewbacca or a Bigfoot, but maybe that, you know, maybe if you're a hoof being and you look at this Anunnaki with this long hair, long beard, and maybe hair on his arms and hair on his chest and legs, and you might think that what we automatically are thinking maybe it's like a Bigfoot or a Chewbacca type creature, but it might not be. It might be a human creature that's had a lot of hair,
and it may not even be an Anunnaki person visiting them.
Right. But I'm just saying it's got to be, you know, it could be just a humanoid figure that has a lot of hair, you know.
Yeah, she did say last week that she hardly had any hair. So
right. So to them,
what would be a lot? What would be hairy?
I mean, when I look at the Anunnaki,
he would be hairy.
I look at the Anunnaki pictures. You know, they got a lot of hair, long curly beards and long hair. And like I said, they might have hairy chest and hairy arms and hairy legs. So who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
I have so many things running through my head, but I can't say it. I can't say it out loud.
What? Come on. Say it.
All I can think Because with that much hair, it's a lot of tough chewing.
Oh, geez, yes. What? I didn't catch that.
I love
See,
it.
that's some kind of weird shit stuff that I would say. You'll have to bleep that out.
It's been a long day.
I'm with you, Mary. And I'm with you.
Oh,
That's why we do this show together, right?
well, yeah. Gotta have some fun sometime.
Right.
Can't always be all work and no play, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
All right, so for this next clip, I take her into an important day that's happening in the lifetime that she's looking at, where she thinks that it's really impactful. And so in this, all the species decides to come outside because it's warm, but it's not hot. And at first, it's like they're playing some kind of games, but then she realizes it's not like games. It's almost like war games where
It's not
they're in-
Hunger
like
Games.
in-
Hunger Games.
There you go. And so it turns into some type of competition.
Okay.
Give me one moment.
Yeah,
Is it usually very hot?
yeah. Warm, really warm.
What does the sky look like?
Kind of orangey, yellowy.
What's important about this day?
To see everyone else.
Why is it important to see everyone else? As a game, or is it as a competition?
Well, well, it kind of started out as a game, but then they got like, who's the best?
Does it turn? It turns rough.
It gets rough.
What happens after it gets rough?
Some of the other ones joined in. It's a brawl.
What are you doing?
I'm staying out of that thing.
What happens next?
The winner is raising his hands in the air, roaring.
Roaring. Mary disappeared.
Oh, no. Yeah,
When she said the sky was orangish yellowish, I thought in my head, okay, well that makes sense. If the dirt is like the clay,
red.
red, then the atmosphere would have some of the dirt in it. You know what I mean? And that would be that would go with that. So that kind of made sense.
Mary, you look like the cat that swallowed a canary. You got something. You got something you're hiding there.
I think she always knows more than we do.
No, I think with this one, I do feel like it's, a Mars type like planet, but it's like they're evolving and they're showing their dominance. They're establishing who's going to be the leader and who's going to be in charge.
Oh, okay.
And of course, it was a he, and he roared.
Yeah.
And Bigfoots are roars. I mean, I've heard alleged recordings of what could be Bigfoot that sounded like roars and wails and all kinds of wild stuff.
Whoops.
Yeah. We heard one live. It was pretty wild.
Oh.
Welcome back,
That'd
Mary.
be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Fruit flies, sorry.
It's December.
I bought some bananas from the grocery store and brought them in, and they must have been hiding in there because they're like, I've never had them like this before. It's ridiculous.
Be careful. They might be from another planet. They might.
First, I thought it was floaters.
Yeah.
Until my husband was seeing them too.
I know about those floaters. I got them.
But that was interesting. Yeah. The red sky, the orange sky stood out to me.
Yeah. The way she describes it. And it's a warm day.
Yeah. And that makes sense for a planet that has red soil.
Yep.
from a meteorological standpoint.
No, it shows that connection. I think it for me too, it kind of takes you back to like the caveman times where they would do, I guess you could call it war games in a sense, to establish dominance.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it interesting that she says, no, I'm staying out of this. So again, it's almost like she's more evolved than the rest of her species.
Yeah.
True.
Well, you got to be careful about this caveman thing, because if you think about it, there's a catastrophe and everything's wiped out, but there's people alive. They have to live in a cave to survive. There's no more structures. Doesn't mean they're not intelligent. So they're sitting around, and their first generation of kids, and they already know how to start a fire. They know how to do these things. They know how to, survive, make a spear, whatever they got to do. But the first generation kids, you tell them, hey, we lived in this fabulous city with all this technology, and they're going to go, yeah, right, because they didn't see it. They can't grasp it. So one generation later, it's all about survival and just, keeping that knowledge how to survive instead of the technology part of it. And it takes a long time. That eventually comes back, but with help, and I don't know how it does it, but it does come back. But
with intervention from hairy aliens that come down in the ship.
That's what I'm saying. They get help from above.
Bigfoot from the sky.
Yeah.
Well,
Sky Squatch.
it's sort of like if you think about the city of Atlantis, and they talk about how they were an ET experiment and were destroyed because they started doing things that they weren't supposed to, like creating humans and animals together. And a lot of people say the survivors of that went to Egypt, and then they just slowly forgot everything they knew. So they had to re-evolve all over again. And that's why with the pyramids, you see those hieroglyphics with what looks like crafts and ET beings on them. It's kind of the same thing he was describing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and still today we have humans who are very connected with animals.
Mm-hmm.
And we have humans who want nothing to do with animals. It's like two different types of species.
Well, there's this cave painting 60,000 years old of these bulls on this cave ceiling. And inside this bull, there's these dots, like 7 dots. They're telling you that the star constellation Pleiades is in Taurus. This is 60,000 years ago. So there might have been a catastrophe that happened, and they're just, they're trying to show you where we came from, who these people are. I don't know. It's amazing, but it's 50,000 years ago. And if you look at them and study them, there's a lot more to it than just, somebody painting a bull on a cave ceiling.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how they know all that, where they got the information from.
Yeah. I think they at one time they were very highly technically advanced, and a catastrophe happened, and so they had to somehow find a way to show you, give you clues.
Mm-hmm. Because that's the crappy part about having to start all over again, right?
Right. Like Michael said, they brought us beer.
Yeah, Ashra.
Yeah, brought us beer.
What about wine?
They probably figured that out too. Yeah.
I like wine.
Yeah.
All right. So for our very last clip, this takes her to the last day of her life.
What do you see?
They're coming for me.
Who's coming for you?
The others.
Why are they coming for you?
It's my time.
What will happen after it's your time?
How are we eating?
How do happens next?
They sit.
What are they doing sitting?
Waiting for me to die.
What?
Now my brain went to Soylent Green and I'm telling you, and then also to Logan's Run, where people get to be a certain age and that it's their time to die,
Right.
and it's all predetermined and everything. But then, like in Soylent Green, people go to these places when they're old and they choose to be euthanized, and then their bodies make food for the people that are alive now. But people didn't know Soylent Green was people. I mean, that's where my head went when I was listening to this. It's like, geez.
Wasn't the Lord of the Flies like that too? Or,
I don't know. I didn't see that movie.
as kids, you got a certain age, I think they did something to you.
How awful would it be to know that you're going to die and these people they're just like waiting around for you to die so they can eat you. That'd be awful.
Well, I guess it would be better than being eaten alive.
Oh, that's true.
True, that's true.
From the sounds of it.
She sounded like she was like, "It's my time." Like she didn't seem to be overly anxious or upset about it.
Yeah, I was like, it is what it is
Yeah.
approach. And I think like part of the regression that was left out, I asked, doesn't that bother you? She's like, no, it's just the way it is. It's what we do. And that's why in last week's episode in her cave or her home, there was bones all around because that's just what they did. If they know this one of their species is going to die, then they come and they wait and have a feast after.
Yeah.
I guess at least you don't pass away alone.
Right.
True.
Well, and you're thinking, well, people did it for me. Now I'm going to return the favor. I got to survive off these elderly people. Now I'm going to return the favor. It's just the way they're programmed and brought up and to think.
Yeah, so it makes you kind of rethink things. Are they running around? Are they staying solitude in solitude so they're not eaten? Or what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think they stay in solitude so bigger species can't eat them. And when they can, they eat what they can.
Well, they're definitely a long way from having replicators, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like they're not even at the stage where maybe the extraterrestrials come down and teach them how to farm and how to grow food. And
they are the food.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. It's like basic survival and that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe their planet doesn't grow. They can't grow food in the soil like we do here.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It's a whole different kind of place.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's different.
Yeah. Never thought about that. It's dry there. It's something.
I can't say this word, anthropomorphized. You know what I mean? Where it's where you try to look at like Mike was saying earlier, you look at everything through human eyes and a human experience, but may not apply here.
Right.
I can't say I can never say that word. Anthropomorphized.
And it actually means that people have a torso and arms and legs like we do as well.
And they might not.
They don't. I mean, they have hooves, but yeah.
I wonder if their hands are hoofs too.
It could be. Yeah.
So
really,
definitely forks and knives are out of the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to say that, but think about it.
You guys are sick. You're all sick. Yeah. So here we are into, getting, was that the last clip?
Yep, yeah, that was the last clip.
That's the last clip, and we still don't really know what kind of being she is.
Mhm.
or what kind of being the insects were. I mean, to
But we know
us, all we can see is the mantis being.
we know they weren't human.
We
Right.
know they weren't human.
So we know there was other life,
Right.
and it may have been life forms that we can't put in a category now that existed then. She may have been one of them. The other bug-like people were bug-like, but they may not have been. We go right back to what we know. They may not have been mantises at all.
Right.
Right. And we also know that if they could carry a stick, they didn't have a hoof or a hand. They had digits of some kind to be able to have a stick. And so we got clues. It's just a species that we're not familiar with.
Right.
So it's definitely
three species we're not familiar with.
yeah,
Right.
it's definitely
But we
an
do know they
interesting
had
little.
emotions and complex thought. We know that. And feelings. So they were sentient. So we got a lot out of that.
It's an interesting little peek into a different existence somewhere else.
That probably we haven't categorized or have no idea.
Yeah.
There are many civilizations that we don't know exist,
Yeah.
but have. Yeah.
And
It makes it-
most certainly wouldn't make any sense to us whatsoever in from our perspective.
Kind of makes me appreciate where we're at instead of there. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Because I'm the oldest one here. I definitely don't want to be.
I don't know. I'm the fattest one
somebody.
here. I might be the tastiest. They say fat is flavorful.
No, we just use that to start the fire.
Yeah.
Get those bones away from me.
Yeah.
That's the greatest show ever.
But if that was one of her past lives, other people have had to have that.
Yeah.
Somebody else was there. It may not have been, and it probably wasn't a huge amount of people or beings, and they probably didn't exist all that long. But somebody has to have been there besides her. So
Yeah.
if you ever get another regression like this, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
I know, right?
And you need to introduce those two people and see if they
there's a
recognize each other.
connection.
I eat
Some kind of recognition on some level,
I thought you tasted funny.
Yeah.
Feel like the bad taste in my mouth.
Oh my God.
Picking your teeth.
Oh, I could go on forever.
Yeah.
I got a million of them.
Give me a hoof, man.
Oh boy.
Oh, all right. On that note, that's all we have for tonight.
The show was done in very good taste.
Taste.
All right.
All right, guys.
I hope you guys all have a great night.
All right.
You too. Thank you.
Love you
all.
guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
Good night.